ॐ भूर्भुवः स्वः तत्सवितुर्वरेण्यं भर्गो देवस्य धीमहि धियो यो नः प्रचोदयात्. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Namaskar, my dear friends. This is video number 35, and this video starts with chapter number 31 and 32. The worship in the temple. Ramlal entered the room and saluted Sri Ramakrishna, touching the ground with his forehead. Then with great respect he touched the master's feet. He was ready to worship the Divine Mother in the temple. Ramlal, please permit me to go to the shrine. The master twice uttered the words Om Kali and said, perform the worship carefully. There is also a sheep to be slaughtered. It was midnight. The worship began in the Kali temple. The master went to watch the ceremony. During the worship he stood near the image. Now the sheep was going to be slaughtered. The animal was consecrated before the deity. People stood in lines watching the ceremony. While the sheep was being taken to the block, Sri Ramakrishna returned to his room. He could not bear the sight. Several devotees remained in the temple till 2 o'clock in the morning. Haripada came and asked them to take the prasad to the master's room. After finishing their meal, they lay down wherever they could for the remainder of the night. It was morning. The dawn service in the temples were over, and the theatrical performance was going on in the open hall in front of the shrine. M was coming through the courtyard with Sri Ramakrishna. He wanted to take leave of the master. Master, why should you go now? M. You are going to Sinti in the afternoon. I too intend to be there, so I should like to go home for a few hours. They came to the Kali temple. At the foot of the steps, M saluted the master. Master, you are going? All right. Please bring 2 pieces of cheap cloth for me. I shall use them while taking my bath. Chapter 32. Visit to the Sinthi Brahmosmas, October 19, 1884. On this day, Sri Ramakrishna again visited the Sinthi Brahmosmas. It was the occasion of the autumn festival of the Smas, which was being celebrated at Bani Madhav Pal's garden house. The hall was decorated with flowers and greens, flags and festoons of various colors. Outside, the blue autumn sky with its fleecy clouds was reflected in the water of the lake. Sri Ramakrishna arrived at 4:30 in the afternoon. Entering the hall, he bowed down before the altar. The Brahmo devotees, among whom could be noticed Vijay and Trailoka, sat around him. A sub-judge who was a member of the Brahmo Samaj was with them. Trailoka was entertaining the devotees with his melodious music. Master, to Trailoka, that song of yours, O mother, make me mad with thy love. I enjoy very much. Won't you sing it? Trilokya sang, O mother, make me mad with thy love. What need have I of knowledge or reason? Make me drunk with thy love's wine. O thou who stillest thy bhaktas' hearts, drown me deep in the sea of thy love. Here in this world, this madhouse of thine, some laugh, some weep, some dance for joy. Jesus, Buddha, Moses, Gauranga, all are drunk with the wine of thy love. O Mother, when shall I be blessed by joining their blissful company? As he listened to the song, the Master's mind underwent a transformation, and presently he went into deep samadhi. Coming down a little to the plane of the sense world, he gave instruction to the devotees. His mind was still charged with the divine experience. His words were spoken as if in a state of intoxication. Gradually, he became again fully conscious of the world. Master, O Mother, I don't want the bliss of divine inebriation. I shall eat siddhi, occult powers, to the devotees. By siddhi, I mean the attainment of the spiritual goal and not one of the eight occult powers. About the occult powers, Sri Krishna said to Arjuna, Friend, if you find anyone who has acquired even one of the eight powers, then know for certain he will not realize me. For powers surely beget pride, and God cannot be realized if there is the slightest trace of pride. Four classes of devotees. According to a certain school of thought, there are four classes of devotees: the Parvartaka, the Sadhaka, the Siddha, and the Siddha of the Siddha. He who has just begun religious life is a Parvartaka. Such a man puts his denominational marks on his body and forehead, wears a rosary around his neck, and scrupulously follows other outer conventions. The sadhaka has advanced further. His desire for outer show has become less. He longs for the realization of God and prays to Him sincerely. He repeats the name of God and calls on Him with a guileless heart. Now, whom should we call the Siddha? He who has the absolute conviction that God exists and is the sole doer, he who has seen God and who is the Siddha of the Siddha, he who has not merely seen God but has intimately talked with Him as Father, Son, or Beloved. Difference between intellectual understanding and actual vision. It is one thing to believe beyond a doubt that fire exists in wood, but it is quite another to get the fire from the wood, cool rice with its help, cook rice with its help, appease one's hunger, and so be satisfied. These are two entirely different things. No one can put a limit to spiritual experience. If you refer to one experience, there is another beyond that, and still another, and so on. Advice to Brahmo. In an ecstatic mood, referring to the Brahmos, they are Brahmajnanis. They believe in the formless deity. That is good. To the Brahmo devotees, be firm in one ideal, either in God with form or in the formless God. Then alone will you realize God, otherwise not. With firm and one unwavering belief, the followers of God with form will realize Him, as will those who speak of Him as formless. You may eat a cake with icing either straight or sidewise. It will taste sweet either way. All laugh. Need of firmness and conviction. But you must have firm conviction. You must pray to Him wholeheartedly. Faith of the worldly minded. Do you know what the God of worldly people is like? It is like children saying to one another while at play, I swear by God. They have learned the word from the quarrels of their aunts or grandmothers. Or it is like God to a dandy. The dandy all spick and span, his lips red from chewing beetle leaf, walks in the garden cane in hand, and plucking a flower, exclaimed to his friend, Ah, what a beautiful flower God has made! But this feeling of a worldly person is momentary. It lasts as long as a drop of water on a red hot frying pan. You must be firm in one ideal, dive deep, otherwise you cannot get the gems at the bottom of the ocean. You cannot pick the gems if you only float on the surface. With these words, the master sang in the sweet voice that had bewitched the hearts of devotees like Kesab. Dive deep, O mind, dive deep in the ocean of God's beauty. If you descend to the uttermost depths, there you will find the gem of love. The devotees felt as if they were in a paradise itself. Seek the Creator and not the world's beauty. Master to the Brahmos. Dive deep, learn to love God, plunge into divine love. You see, I have heard how you pray. Why do you Brahmos dwell so much on the glories of God? Is there such great need of your saying over and over again, O God, you have created the sky, the great oceans, the lunar world, the solar world, and the stellar world. Everybody is wonderstruck at the mere sight of a rich man's garden house. People become speechless at the sight of the trees, the flowers, the ponds, the drawing room, the pictures. But alas, how few are they who seek the owner of all these. Only one or two inquire after him. He who seeks God with a longing heart can see him. Talk to him as I am talking to you. Believe my words when I say that God can be seen. But to whom am I saying these words? Who will believe me? Futility of mere study. Can one find God in the sacred books? By reading the scriptures, one may feel at the most that God exists, but God does not reveal Himself to a man unless he himself dives deep. Only after such a plunge, after the revelation of God through His grace, is one's doubt destroyed. You may read scriptures by the thousands and recite and recite thousands of texts, but unless you plunge into God with yearning of heart, you will not comprehend Him. By mere scholarship, you may fool man, but not God. Scriptures and books, what can one achieve with these alone? Nothing can be realized without His grace. Strive with a longing heart for His grace. Through His grace, you will see Him and He will talk to you. Different degrees of divine manifestation. Subject. Sir, does God show more grace to one than to another? If so, he can be accused of the fault of partiality. Master, what are you saying? Do you mean to say that the moon and a glowworm are the same, though both give light? Ishwar Vidyasagar asked me the same question. He said, is it a fact, sir, that God gives more power to one and less to another? God, I said, exists in every being as the all pervading spirit. He is in the ant as well as in me. But there are different manifestations of His power in different beings. If all are the same, then why have we come here to see you, attracted by your renown? Have you grown a pair of horns? Oh no, it is not that. That is the reason you are so well known. Pair of horns. Oh no, it is not that. You have compassion, you have scholarship. There is a greater degree of these virtues in you than in others. That is the reason you are so well known. Don't you see that there are men who single handed can defeat 100 persons? Again, one man takes to his heels in fear of another. You see such a person too. If there are not different manifestations of power in different beings, then why did people respect Kesav Sen so much? It is said in the Gita that if a man is respected and honored by many, whether it be for his scholarship or his music or his oratory or anything else, then you may know for certain that he is endowed with a special divine power. A Brahmo to the subject, why don't you accept what he says? Master, sharply to the Brahma, what sort of man are you to accept words without conviction? Why, that is hypocrisy. I see you are only a counterfeit. The Brahma was much embarrassed. Advice to the worldly minded, prayer in solitude. Subject, sir, must we renounce the world? Master, no. Why should you? A man can realize God even in the world, but at the beginning he must spend a few days in solitude. He must practice spiritual discipline in a solitary place. He should take a room near his house so that he may come home only for his meals. Kesab, Pratap, and others said to me, sir, we follow the ideal of King Janka. Mere words don't make a King Janka, I replied. How many austerities King Janka first had to perform in solitude, standing on his head, and so on. Do something first, then you may become a King Janka. You see a man writing English fluently, but could he do that at the very start? Perhaps He was the son of a poor parents. He was cook in a family and earned his meal by his service. Perhaps he had to struggle hard to go on with his studies. It is after all these efforts that he can now write such fluent English. Danger of woman and gold. I said to Kesab Sen further, how can the worldly man be cured of his serious disease unless he goes into solitude? A worldly man is suffering from delirious fever, as it were. Suppose there are pickled tamarind and jars of water in the room of such a patient. Now, how can you expect him to get rid of the disease? Just to see the very mention of pickled tamarind is making my mouth water. Allah. You can very well imagine what will happen if the tamarind is actually put in front of me. To a man, a woman is the pickled tamarind, and his desire for enjoyment the jar of water. There is neither end nor limit to this desire for worldly enjoyment, and the things are in the patient's very room. Can you expect the patient to get rid of the delirious fever in this fashion? He must be removed for a few days to another place where there are neither pickled tamarind nor water jars. Then he will be cured. After that, if he return to his old room, he will have nothing to fear. Woman and gold cannot do any harm to the man who lives in the world after attaining God. Only then can he lead a detached life in the world as King Janka did. But he must be careful at the beginning. He must practice spiritual discipline in strict solitude. The peepal tree, when young, is fenced around to protect it from cattle, but there is no need for the fence when the trunk grows thick and strong. Then no harm will be done to the tree even if an elephant is tied to it. Woman and gold will not be able to harm you in the least. If you go home and lead a householder's life after increasing your spiritual strength and developing love for the lotus feet of God through the practice of spiritual discipline in solitude. A man sets milk in a quiet place to curdle, and then he extracts butter from the curd. After once extracting the butter of devotion and knowledge from the milk of the mind, if you keep that transformed mind in the water of the world, it will float in the world unattached. But if the mind in its unripe state, that is to say, when it is just like liquid milk is kept in the water of the world, then the milk and water will get mixed. In that case, it will be impossible for the mind to float unattached in the world, live in the world, but in order to realize God, hold fast to His lotus feet with one hand and with the other do your duties. When you get a respite from your duties, cling to God's lotus feet with both hands, live in solitude and meditate on Him and serve Him ceaselessly. Subject joyously. Sir, these are very beautiful words indeed. Of course, one must practice spiritual discipline in solitude. But we forgot all about it. We think we have become King Janka outright. The master and the devotees laugh. I feel very happy and peaceful even to hear that there is no need to give up the world and that God can be realized from home as well. Master, why should you give up the world? Since you must fight, it is wise for you to fight from a fort. You must fight against your sense organs, against your hunger and thirst. Therefore, you will be wise to face the battle from the world. Further, in the Kali Yuga, the life of a man depends on his food. If one day you have nothing to eat, then you will forget all about God. A man once said to his wife, I am going to leave the world. She was a sensible woman. She said, why should you wander about if you don't have to knock at 10 doors for your stomach's sake? Go. But if that is the case, then better live in this one place. Again, I say, why should you give up the world? You will find it more convenient at home. You won't have to worry about food. You may even live with your wife. It is not harmful. You will find near at hand all that the body needs at different times. When you are ill, you will have someone near you to nurse you. Sages like Janaka, Vyasa, and Vasishtha lived in the world after attaining knowledge. They fenced with two swords, the one of knowledge and the other of action. Subject. How can we know that we have knowledge? Master. When one has knowledge, one does not see God anymore at a distance. One does not think of Him anymore as a He. He becomes this, then He is seen in one's own heart. God dwells in every man. He who seeks God realizes Him. Sin and God's name. Subject. Sir, I am a sinner. How can I say that God dwells in me? Master. That is the only trouble with you Brahmos. With you it is always sin and sin. That's the Christian view, is not it? Once a man gave me a Bible. A part of it was read to me, and it was full of that one thing sin and sin. One must have such faith that one can say, I have uttered the name of God. I have repeated the name of Rama or Hari. How can I be a sinner? One must have faith in the glory of God's name. Subject, sir, how can one have such faith? Master, have passionate love for God. One of your Brahmo songs says, O Lord, is it ever possible to know Thee without love? However much one may perform worship and sacrifice, pray to God in secret and with yearning, that you may have that passionate attachment and devotion to Him. Sad, shed tears for Him. A man sheds a jug full of tears because his wife is sick, or because he is losing money, or because he is worrying about getting a job. But tell me, whoever weeps for God, self surrender to God. Tralokya, sir, where is people's leisure? They must serve their English master well. Then give God the power of attorney. If a man entrust his affairs to a good person, will the latter do him any harm? With all the sincerity of your heart, resign yourself to God and drive all your worries out of your mind. Do whatever duties He has assigned to you. The kitten does not have a calculating mind. It only cries mew mew. It lies in the kitten contentedly if the mother cat leaves it there and only calls the mother crying mew mew. It has the same feeling of contentment when the mother cat puts it on the soft bed of the master of the house. It only cries for its mother. Duty to wife and children. Subject, sir, we are householders. How long should we perform our worldly duties? Master, surely you have duties to perform. You must bring up your children, support your wife, and provide for her in case of your death. If you don't, then I shall call you unkind. Sages like Sukadeva had compassion. He who has no compassion is no man. Subject. How long should one support one's children? Master. As long as they have not reached their majority, when the chick becomes a full grown bird and can look after itself, then the mother bird pecks it and does not allow it to come near her or laugh. Subject. What is a householder's duty to his wife? Master. You should give her spiritual advice and support her during your lifetime and provide for her livelihood after your death if she is a chaste wife. But if you are intoxicated with the knowledge of God, then you have no more duties to perform. Then God Himself will think about your morrow if you yourself cannot do so. God Himself will think about your family if you are intoxicated with Him. If a landlord dies leaving behind a minor son, then a guardian appointed by the court takes charge of the son. These are all points of law, you know them. Subject, yes sir, Vijay. Ah, priceless words. God Himself carries on His shoulders all the responsibilities of a person who thinks of Him with single minded devotion and is mad with divine love. A minor gets his guardian without seeking him. Alas, when shall I have that state of mind? How lucky they are who feel that way. Triloka. Is it ever possible, sir, to have true knowledge of God while living in the world? Can one realize God here? Master, with a smile, why do you worry? You are enjoying both treacle and refined sugar. All laugh. You are living in the world with your mind in God. Is not that true? Why should not a man realize God in the world? Certainly he can. Trilokya. What are the signs of a householder having attained knowledge? Master. His tears will flow and the hair on his body will stand on end. No sooner does he hear the sweet name of God than the hair on his body stands on end from sheer delight, and tears roll down his cheeks. A man cannot get rid of body consciousness as long as he is attached to worldly things and loves woman and gold. As he becomes less and less attached to worldly things, he approaches nearer and nearer to the knowledge of self. He also becomes less and less conscious of his body. He attains self knowledge when his worldly attachment totally disappears. Then he realizes that body and soul are two separate things. It is very difficult to separate with a knife the kernel of a coconut from the shell before the milk inside has dried up. When the milk dries up, the kernel rattles inside the shell. At that time, it loosens itself from the shell. Then the fruit is called a dry coconut. Signs of God vision. The sign of a man's having realized God is that he has become like a dry coconut. He has become utterly free from the consciousness that he is the body. He does not feel happy or unhappy with the happiness or unhappiness of the body. He does not seek the comforts of the body. He roams about in the world as a Jivan Mukta, one liberated in life. The devotee of Kali is a Jivan Mukta, full of eternal bliss. When you find that the very mention of God's name brings tears to your eyes and makes your hair stand on end, then you will know that you have freed yourself from attachment to woman and gold and attained God. If the matches are dry, you get a spark by striking only one of them. But if they are damp, you don't get a spark even if you strike 50. You only waste matches. Similarly, if your mind is soaked in the pleasure of worldly things in woman and gold, then God consciousness will not be kindled in you. You may try 1,000 times, but all your efforts will be futile. But no sooner does attachment to worldly pleasure dry up than the spark of God flashes forth. Force your demand on the Divine Mother. Trilokya. What is the way to dry up the craving for worldly pleasure, Master? Pray to the Divine Mother with a longing heart. Her vision dries up all craving for the world and completely destroys all attachment to woman and gold. It happens instantly if you think of her as your own mother. She is by no means a godmother. She is your own mother. With a yearning heart, persist in your demands on her. The child holds to the skirts of its mother and begs a penny of her to buy a kite. Perhaps the mother is gossiping with her friends. At first she refuses to give the penny and says to the child, "No, you can't have it. Your daddy has asked me not to give you money. When he comes home, I will ask him about it. You will get into trouble if you play with a kite now." The child begins to cry and will not give up his demand. Then the mother says to her friends, "Excuse me a moment, let me pacify this child." Immediately she unlocks the cash box with a click and throws the child a penny. You too must force your demand on the Divine Mother. She will come to you without fail. I once said the same thing to some Sikhs when they visited the temple at Dakshineshwar. We were conversing in front of the Kali temple. They said, "God is compassionate." "Why compassionate?" I asked. They said, "Why, revered sir, he constantly looks after us, give us righteousness and wealth, and provides us with our food." Suppose, I said, a man has children, who will look after them and provide them with food, their own father or man from another village? sub-judge. Is it not God then, compassionate sir? Master, why should you think that? I just made a remark. What I mean to say is that God is our very own. We can exert force on him with one's own people. One can even go so far as to say, "You rascal, won't you give it to me?" Futility of egotism to the sub-judge. Let me ask you one thing. Are you are vanity and egotism the result of knowledge or of ignorance? Egotism is of the nature of tamas. It is begotten by ignorance. On account of the barrier of ego, one does not see God. All troubles come to an end when the ego dies. It is futile to be egoistic. Neither body nor wealth will last. Once a drunkard was looking at the image of Durga. At the sight of her decorations, he said, "Well, mother, however you may fix yourself up, after 2 or 3 days they will drag you out and throw you into the Ganges." All laugh. So I say to you all, you may be a judge or anybody else, but it is all for 2 days only. Therefore, you should give up vanity and pride. Sattva, Rajas, and Tamas. The characteristics of Sattva, Rajas, and Tamas are very different. Egotism, sleep, gluttony, lust, anger, and the like are the traits of people with tamas. Men with rajas entangle themselves in many activities. Such a man has clothes all spick and span. His house is immaculately clean. A portrait of the Queen hangs on a wall in his drawing room. When he worships God, he wears a silk cloth. He has a string of Rudraksha beads around his neck, and in between the beads he puts a few gold ones. When someone comes to visit the worship hall in his house, he himself acts as guide. After showing the hall, he says to the visitor, "Please come this way, sir." There are other things too, the floor of white marble and the Nat Mandir with its exquisite carvings. When he gives in charity, he makes a show of it. But a man endowed with sattva is quiet and peaceful. So far as dress is concerned, anything will do. He earns only enough money to give his stomach the simplest of food. He never flatters man to get money. His house is out of repair. He never worries about his children's clothing. He does not hanker for name and fame. His worship, charity, and meditation are all done in secret. People do not know about them at all. He meditates inside his mosquito curtain. People think he does not sleep well at night and for that reason sleeps late in the morning. Sattva is the last step of the stairs. Next is the roof. As soon as sattva is acquired, there is no further delay in attaining God. One step forward and God is realized. To the subjects, didn't you say that all men were equal? Now you see that there are so many varieties of human nature. Four classes of men. There are still other classes and kinds of people. For instance, there are those who are eternally free, those who have attained liberation, those struggling for liberation, and those entangled in the world. So many varieties of man. Sages like Narada and Sukadeva are eternally free. They are like a steamship. which not only crosses the ocean but can carry big animals, even an elephant. Further, the soul that is eternally free is like the superintendent of an estate. After bringing one part of the estate under control, he goes to another. Those struggling for liberation strive heart and soul to free themselves from the net of the world. One or two of them may get out of the net. They are called the liberated. The souls that are eternally free are like clever fish. They are never caught in the net. But the souls that are entangled, involved in worldliness, never come to their senses. They lie in the net but are not even conscious that they are entangled. If you speak of God before them, they at once leave the place. They say, "Why God now? We shall think of him in the hour of death." But when they lie on their deathbed, they say to their wives or children, "Why have you put so many wicks in the lamp? Use only one wick, otherwise too much oil will be burnt." While dying, they think of their wives and children and weep, "Alas, what will happen to them after my death?" The entangled souls repeat those very actions that make them suffer so much. They are like the camel which eats thorny bushes till the blood streams from its mouth, but still will not give them up. Such a man may have lost his son and be stricken with grief, but still he will have children year after year. He may ruin himself by his daughter's marriage, but still he will go on having daughters every year. And he says, "What can I do? It is just my luck." When he goes to a holy place, he does not have any time to think of God. He almost kills himself carrying bundles for his wife. Entering the temple, he is very eager to give his child the holy water to drink or make him roll on the floor, but he has no time for his own devotions. These bound creatures slave for their masters to earn food for themselves and their families, and they earn money by lying, cheating, flattery. They laugh at those who think of God and meditate on Him and call them lunatics. So you see how many different kinds of men there are. You said that all men were equal, but how many varieties of men there are. Some have more power and some less. Thought of God at the hour of death. The entangled creatures attached to worldliness talk only of worldly things in the hour of death. What will it avail such men if they outwardly repeat the name of God, take a bath in the Ganges, or visit sacred places? If they cherish within themselves attachment to the world, it must show up at the hour of death. While dying, they rave nonsense. Perhaps they cry out in a delirium. Turmeric powder, seasoning, bay leaf. The singing parrot, when at ease, repeats the holy names of Radha and Krishna, but when it is seized by a cat, it utters its own natural sound. It squawks, "Ka, ka." It is said in the Gita that whatever one thinks in the hour of death, one becomes in the afterlife. King Bharata gave up his body exclaiming, "Dear, dear," and was born as a deer in his next life. But if a man dies thinking of God, then he attains God and he does not have to come back to the life of this world. A Brahmo devotee, sir, suppose a man has thought of God at other times during his life, but at the time of his death forgets him. Would he, on that account, come back to this world of sorrow and suffering? Why should it be so? He certainly thought of God sometime during his life. Master, a man thinks of God, no doubt, but he has no faith in him. Again and again he forgets God and becomes attached to the world. It is like giving the elephant a bath. Afterwards, he covers his body with mud and dirt again. The mind is a mad elephant, but if you can make the elephant go into the stable immediately after bathing him, then he stays clean. Just so, if a man thinks of God in the hour of death, then his mind becomes pure and it gets no more opportunity to become attached to woman and gold. Man has no faith in God. That is the reason he suffers so much. They say that when you plunge into the holy waters of the Ganges, your sins perch on a tree on the bank. No sooner do you come out of the water after the bath than the sins jump back on your shoulders. Oh love, a man must prepare the way beforehand, beforehand so that he may think of God in the hour of death. The way lies through constant practice. If a man practices meditation on God, he will remember God even on the last day of his life. A Brahmo devotee. You have spoken very beautifully, sir. Beautiful words indeed. Master's humility. Master. Oh, this is just idle talk. But do you know my inner feeling? I am the machine and God is the operator. I am the house and He is the indweller. I am the engine and He is the engineer. I am the chariot and He is the charioteer. I move as he moves me. I do as he makes me do. Presently, Tralokia began to sing to the accompaniment of drums and cymbals. Sri Ramakrishna danced intoxicated with divine love. Many times he went into samadhi. He stood still, his eyes fixed, his face beaming, with one hand on the shoulder of a beloved disciple. Coming down a little from the state of ecstasy, he danced again like a mad elephant, regaining consciousness of the outer world. He improvised lines to the music. O mother, dance about thy devotees. Dance thyself and make them dance as well. O Mother, dance in the lotus of my heart. Dance, O thou, the ever blessed Brahma. Dance in all thy world bewitching beauty. An indescribable scene, the exquisite and celestial dance of a child completely filled with ecstatic love of God and identified heart and soul with the Divine Mother. The Brahmo devotees danced around the Master again and again, attracted like iron to a magnet. In ecstatic voices, they chanted the name of Brahma. Again, they chanted the name of the Divine Mother. Many of them wept like children, crying, Mother, Mother. When the music was over, the devotees and the Master sat down. Although it was about 8 o'clock, the evening worship of the Brahmo Samaj had not yet begun. In the joy of this divine music, they had forgotten all about their formal worship. Vijay, who was to conduct the evening service, sat facing the master. His mother in law and the other Brahmo ladies wanted to see Sri Ramakrishna, so the master went to meet them in another room. After a time, the master came back and said to Vijay, "What devotion to God your mother in law has! About the worldly life, she said to me, Oh, you need not tell me about the world. No sooner does one wave disappear, then another rises up. But I said, What is that to you? You have knowledge? She replied, Where is my knowledge? I have not yet been able to go beyond Vidya Maya and Avidya Maya. It won't help me much to beyond just the illusion of ignorance. I shall have to transcend the illusion of knowledge as well. Only then shall I have true knowledge of God. I am quoting your own words. While we were talking, Benny Paul, their host, entered the room. Benny to Vijay. Sir, please get up. It is already late. Please begin the worship. Vijay, what further need is there of worship? I find that according to your arrangement, the rice pudding is served first and then the soup and other dishes. Master with a smile. The devotees provide offerings according to their temperaments. The Sattvic devotees offer the deity simple rice pudding, and the Rajasic devotee 50 different dishes. The Tamasic devotee slaughters goats and other animals. Vijay began to hesitate about going to the platform to conduct the worship. He said to the master, I shall conduct the worship from the platform only if you give me your blessing. Master, it will be alright if you don't feel any egotism. If you don't have the vain feeling I am giving a lecture. Listen to me. What begets egotism? Knowledge or ignorance? It is only the humble man who attains knowledge. In a low place, rainwater collects. It runs down from a mound. A man achieves neither knowledge nor liberation as long as he has egotism. He comes back again and again to the world. The calf bellows, Hamba, Hamba. That is I. That is why it suffers such agony. The butcher slaughters it, and the shoemaker makes shoes from its hide. Besides, its hide is used for the drum, which is beaten mercilessly. Still no end to its misery. At long last, a carding machine is made from its entrails. While carding the cotton, the machine makes the sound tuhu, tuhu, that is thou, thou. Then the poor calf is released from all suffering. It no longer says hamba, hamba, but repeats tuhu, tuhu. The calf says, as it were, O God, thou art the doer and I am nothing. Thou art the operator and I am the machine. Thou art everything. Three words, master, teacher, and father, prick me like thorns. I am the Son of God, His eternal child. How can I be a father? God alone is the master, and I am His instrument. He is the operator. I am the machine. If somebody addresses me as Guru, I say to him, Go away, you fool. How can I be a teacher? There is no teacher except Satchitananda. There is no refuge except him. He alone is the ferryman to take one across the ocean of the world to Vijay. It is very difficult to act as an Acharya. It harms the Acharya himself, finding a number of men doing him reverence. He sits you put 4 seers of milk in a 1 seer jar. If God, through His grace, ever reveals Himself to His devotee and makes him understand, then he will know, but not otherwise. That which is Brahma is Shakti, and that again is the mother. He it is says Ram Prasad that I approach as mother. But must I give away the secret here in the marketplace? From the hints I have given, zero mind guess, O mind guess what that being is. Ramprasad implies that he has known the truth of Burma. He addresses Burma as mother. In another song, Ramprasad expresses the same idea. Thus, knowing the secret that Kali is one with the highest Burma, I have discarded once for all both dharma and adharma. Adharma means unrighteous actions, actions forbidden by religion. Dharma means the pious actions prescribed by religion, as for instance, charity to the poor, feeding the Brahmins, and so on. Vijay. What remains if one renounces both dharma and adharma? Master, pure love of God. I prayed to the Divine Mother, O Mother, here take thy dharma, here take thy adharma, and give me pure love for thee. Here take thy virtue, here take thy vice, and give me pure love for thee. Here take thy knowledge, here take thy ignorance, and give me pure love for thee. You see, I did not ask even for knowledge or public recognition. When one renounces both dharma and adharma, there remains only pure love of God, love that is stainless, motiveless, and that one feels only for the sake of love. A Brahmo devotee. Is God different from his Shakti? Master, after attaining perfect knowledge, one realizes that they are not different. They are the same, like the gem and its brilliance. Thinking of the gem, one cannot but think of its brilliance. Again, they are like milk and its whiteness. Thinking of the one, you must also think of the other. But you cannot realize this non duality before the attainment of perfect knowledge. Attaining perfect knowledge, one goes into samadhi beyond the 24 cosmic principles. Therefore, the principle of I does not exist in that stage. A man cannot describe in words what he feels in samadhi. Coming down, he can give just a hint about it. I come down 100 cubits, as it were, when I say Om after Samadhi. Brahma is beyond the injunctions of the Vedas and cannot be described. There neither I nor you exists. As long as a man is conscious of I and you, and as long as he feels that it is he who prays or meditates, so long will he feel that God is listening to this prayer and that God is a person, then he must say, O God, thou art the master and I am thy servant. Thou art the whole and I am a part of thee. Thou art Thou art the mother and I am thy child. At the time there exists a feeling of difference. I am one and thou art another. It is God Himself who makes us feel this difference, and on account of this difference, one sees man and woman, light and darkness, and so on. As long as one is aware of this difference, one must accept Shakti, the personal God. It is God who has put I consciousness in us. You may reason 1,000 times, still this I does not disappear. As long as I consciousness exists, God reveals Himself to us as a person. Therefore, as long as a man is conscious of I and of differentiation, he cannot speak of the attributeless Brahma and must accept Brahma with attributes. This Brahma with attributes has been declared in the Vedas, the Puranas, and the Tantras to be Kali, the primal energy. Vijay to Brahmajnana. Way to Brahmajnana Vijay. How, sir, can one have the vision of the primal energy and attain Brahmajnana, the knowledge of the attributeless Brahma? Master, pray to him with a yearning heart and weep. What will purify your heart? You see the reflection of the sun in clear water. In the mirror of his eye consciousness, the devotee sees the form of the primal energy, Brahma with attributes, but the mirror must be wiped clean. One does not see the right reflection if there is any dirt on the mirror. As long as a man must see the sun in the water of his eye consciousness and has no other means of seeing it, as long as he has no means of seeing the real sun except through its reflection, so long is the reflected sun alone 100% real to him. As long as the eye is real, so long is the reflected sun real 100% real. That reflected sun is nothing but the primal energy. But if you seek Brahmajnana, the knowledge of the attributeless Brahma, then proceed to the real sun through its reflection. Pray to Brahma with attributes, who listens to your prayers, and he himself will give you full knowledge of Brahma. For that which is Brahma with attributes is verily Brahma without attributes, that which is Brahma is verily Shakti. One realizes this non-duality after the attainment of perfect knowledge. The Divine Mother gives her devotees Brahmajnana too, but a true lover of God generally does not seek the knowledge of Brahma. There is another path, the path of knowledge, which is very difficult. You members of the Brahmo Samaj are not Gyanis, you are Bhaktas. The Gyani believes that Brahma alone is real and the world illusory as a dream. To him, I and you are illusory as a dream. God is our inner controller. Pray to him with a pure and guileless heart. He will explain everything to you. Give up egotism and take refuge in Him. You will realize everything. The Master saying, dwell, O mind, within yourself. Enter no other's home. If you but seek there, you will find all you are searching for. God, the true philosopher's stone, who answers every prayer, lies hidden deep within your heart, the richest gem of all. How many pearls and precious stones are scattered all about the outer court that lies before the chamber of your heart. He continued, when you mix with people outside your Samaj, love them all. When in their company, be one of them. Don't harbor malice towards them. Don't turn up your nose in hatred and say, oh, this man believes in God with form and not in the formless God. That man believes in the formless God and not in God with form. this man is a Christian, this man is a Hindu, and this man is a Muslim. It is God alone who makes people see things in different ways. Know that people have different natures. Realize this and mix with them as much as you can and love all, but enter your own inner chamber to enjoy peace and bliss. Lighting the lamp of knowledge in the chamber of your heart, behold the face of the Mother, Brahma's embodiment. You can see your true self only within your own chamber. The cowherds take the cows to graze in pasture. There the cattle mix. They all form one herd. But on returning to their sheds in the evening, they are separated. Then each stays by itself in its own stall. Therefore I say, dwell by yourself in your own chamber. It was 10 o'clock in the evening. The master got into a carriage to return to Dakshineswar. One or two attending devotees got in with him. The carriage stood under a tree in deep darkness. Benipal wanted to send some sweets and other food with Sri Ramakrishna for Ramlal, the master's nephew, Benipal. Sir Ramlal was not here this evening. With your permission, I should like to send some sweets for him for by your attendance. Master, with great anxiety, oh, Benipal, oh, sir, please don't send these things with me. That will do me harm. It is never possible for me to lay up anything. I hope you won't mind, Benipal. As you please, sir, give me your blessing. Master, oh, we have been very happy today. You see, he alone is a true man who has made money his servant. But those who do not know the use of money are not men, even though they have human forms. They may have human bodies, but they behave like animals. You are blessed indeed. You have made so many devotees happy today. So at this point I conclude this video. Next video number 36 will start with chapter number 32, Monday, October 20, 1884. Thank you. Namaste.